Hello, I'm Uzo Akpele, an immigration lawyer here in Atlanta, Georgia, helping people navigate US immigration law, no matter where they're located, inside the US, outside the US. In this video, I'll tell you about what can make you lose your green card, because your status as a permanent resident is not really permanent. You can lose that status. That is, so you can lose your green card. So in this video, I will tell you what can cause you to lose your status, your green card in the US. Abandonment. The USCIS can decide that you've abandoned your green card. If you're away from the US for up to 6 months, the USCIS will merely presume that you've abandoned residence. They will not conclude that, they'll just presume that you have. So when you come back to the US, a good explanation to immigration at the airport, wherever you're coming from, will probably clear up the situation. If you've been away for a year or more, the USCIS will conclude that you have abandoned residence. While you may be able to explain this away, there's also the possibility that an immigration officer will insist that you did indeed abandon your green card and may ask you to sign a form, which form, if you sign that form, you'd be agreeing that you've abandoned residence and you'll be immediately sent back out of the US. There's a way to prevent abandonment issues. Well, more than a way. One way is to limit the time you spend outside the US. Another way is to apply for and obtain a reentry permit. So this lets the Immigration Service know that you're not abandoning. And because indeed people have business that keeps them out of the US for extended periods of time sometimes, or it also causes them to travel out of the US frequently. And then, of course, there's the case of people who just travel out for a brief period and end up staying longer than they expected. So if you have a reentry permit, it will help preserve your status so that you will not be considered to have abandoned it. And of course, in our office, we can help you apply for that reentry permit. Then failure to remove condition is also something that can cause somebody to lose their permanent resident status. So if you got a conditional resident card, whether through marriage or investment, then you know that you need to remove condition on your residence after 2 years of getting the card. If you fail to apply to remove condition, you will lose your status as a green card holder. To prevent this from happening, you should petition to remove condition on your green card as from 90 days to the expiration date of your conditional green card. So you have those 90 days up to the date of the second anniversary. That means that the USCIS must receive your permission on or before that day of the second anniversary of your green card. And you can find the anniversary date on the green card itself. Criminal convictions can also lead somebody to lose their green card. Being convicted of a crime in the US, which the immigration law classes as an aggravated felony or a crime involving moral turpitude, can cause a person to lose their status as a permanent resident. Immigration law definition of crimes is rather quite different from what one might necessarily expect. So that what might even seem to be just a little offense under criminal law might cause one to lose their green card. For example, a person jumps the turnstile in order to avoid paying the subway fare. It's usually a misdemeanor, not anything serious. You pay your fine and you keep going. But US immigration law views this as a crime involving moral turpitude, and it could really jeopardize one's green card status. Moral turpitude doesn't have any definition except, well, it's something bad which you shouldn't have done, but you still went ahead and did it. And fraud offenses are usually classed as crimes involving moral turpitude. Aggravated felonies are defined as any offenses that carry a sentence of 1 year or more. That's how immigration law describes an aggravated felony. So that something that might have just had a misdemeanor status in regular state law might end up being an aggravated felony under immigration law just because it carries a sentence that's up to 1 year. And then, of course, there's the usual bad ones, the drug-related offenses and offenses involving violence. The bottom line is that in immigration law, green card holders and crimes do not mix. So just avoid them. Fraud and misrepresentation. So even after you've received your green card, if immigration discovers fraud or misrepresentation in your process of obtaining that green card, you can have your green card revoked. You lose it. Fraud or misrepresentation is a lie situation. Maybe you didn't enter the correct information on the form, one of the forms you filled. That could cause you to lose your status. And sometimes it may happen when you're even filing a current application. So it may be you're trying to apply for citizenship and you misstate something. Could even be inadvertently, you could find yourself struggling to keep your green card. Also, submitting fraudulent documents in the immigration process, that's another bad one. So whenever the USCIS finds this out, they'll go after the person. Somebody may voluntarily or involuntarily surrender their green card. So let's say you decide you no longer want to be a permanent resident of the US. And there's people who make that decision for whatever reason. You go ahead and turn in your green card, fill out the abandonment form, and you lose status and you depart the US. And sometimes do the involuntary surrender is when immigration could just keep telling you, let's say you're at the airport, they're asking you, why didn't you come, and you've been out of the US for a long time. And sometimes that exchange could lead up to, well, why don't you sign this form? If you sign that form, chances are that you're signing away your green card, you're signing to abandon your permanent residence. So if you ever get in that situation with immigration where you are being told to sign that form, tell them no. I'd rather talk to my lawyer, and I'd rather go to court and talk to the immigration judge. And that is if you didn't mean to abandon residence. So that's the way those are the ways you could lose your green card. So you should always speak to a lawyer if you have that kind of a situation. And of course, here at our firm, we help people with that situation. We know how to help you make your argument if you really didn't intend to abandon residence. And sometimes there's other ways to um, resuscitate your permanent residence, if you will. Sometimes a waiver may help. So call us today, 404-250-3292, and we'll help you resolve that problem if you have it. Till next time.